Hello everybody, this is Danny from Deep South Homestead on Porch Time today. Guys, it's time for a reality check. Yes, a reality check for when that day comes. Now, I find this to be the biggest issue with homesteaders today. There's so many of them that when that day comes, they either drop the ball or they don't have the fortitude, the intestinal fortitude, let's call it that, to finish what they started. And let's just start off with it, and I'm going to carry it in several different directions, okay? First off, we're going to talk about animals. Now, when you bring animals on your homestead, it's your responsibility to raise those animals, to care for those animals, and to do it in a manner in which those animals are safe not only for you to be around, but are safe for children to be around or anything else. And if you have an animal on your homestead that is not safe to be around with other people, you need to get rid of him, because that's not a safe homestead. Because all it takes is one accident for someone to get hurt. And if it's not you, it could be someone else. You could end up in a lawsuit. I mean, someone could be injured for life, all just simply because of a rogue animal. I know at Deep South Homestead here, if we have an animal that we cannot control, he goes freezer camp. I mean, we do not sell it to someone else. We don't give it to somebody else. We don't take it to a stockyard. We dispose of it. And usually it's animals that we can eat. So that's what happened to Frankie, our hair sheep. Now the female died, and Frankie got to be where, if one of the pigs was to come in heat or something like that, then he would just start ramming them and hurting them and doing all kinds of things. And then when it just got to be that time of the year when the rut came on for him, then he just got where he was just uncontrollable, and he rammed me one time into the barn and knocked me into the wall. And one time he pinned Wanda up out there. And guys, look, when that kind of stuff starts happening, he ain't staying with Danny on Deep South Homestead. He's going somewhere, and it's going to probably be a freezer camp, because we are not going to sell him to somebody. I know lots of people ask us, y'all, can we get him from you or this or that? And knowing what he was doing, no, I would not sell him to someone else and see someone else get hurt. And that's where you've got to have the intestinal fortitude to step up to the plate and just do what's right. He's a rogue animal. He's got problems. His disposition's no good. You do not want to put that animal off on someone else. And see, that's what homesteading, one of the things that irritates me about people so much, they go get these animals and they bring them to their homestead, and once they get them there, they look at these animals like they have a soul. Sure, they're cute, and they bring joy and they bring happiness. But guys, there's always that period of time when that day comes. At some point they all go to freezer camp. And that's one of the things that you got to realize. If you're going to do animals, you got to get that in your head, that they're there for a purpose. God put them on the earth for a purpose, and that's where they will eventually end up. My pigs, as much as I love my pigs, as much as I love my goats and my cows and anything like that, as long as they behave themselves and they're good animals, I usually let them live, and they live to be a ripe old age, and they still go to freezer camp in the end, but at least they get to live a good life. But at any one moment, if they get where I cannot handle them easily, they go to freezer camp. That's just the bottom line. Rabbits. We raised rabbits. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, those things are just so cute. Well, they're raised for meat. They go to freezer camp. When that day comes, you got to be willing, if you're going to raise them, to just do it. Chickens are the same way. We raise chickens here for eggs and for meat. We raise turkeys for eggs. We raise turkey for meat. And guys, when that day comes, you just got to do what you've got to do, or either just don't get them. I know I had some people tell me one time, oh, the best time when we were looking for rabbits and when we were looking for chickens and stuff like that, they said, oh, just wait till right after Easter because people buy all these animals and then they realize, oh, they don't have what it takes, and then they try to find somebody to just give them to. And guys, that's just not right. That's not fair to you. It's not fair to the animal. You know, an animal deserves a good home. And here at Deep South Homestead, we give our animals good homes. We let them live out their life, most of them free range in the fields and get to enjoy themselves. Now some of our chickens stay in pens, but we let them out occasionally to free range. The turkeys, we let the males out to go free range. You got some females, we've got some little ones that fix and let them out to do a little free ranging, to raise their babies and stuff like that. I mean, we let an animal have every good thing in life that they can have, but there ultimately comes that day when they have to go to freezer camp. And let me tell you something, it ain't just animals. Let's talk about your garden. Now this is an area I see so many people failing in, and I mean a lot of people fail in this area. They'll spend tons of time and effort preparing a piece of ground. They'll go out and get all kinds of amendments to put in that soil. They'll go order seeds and they do all this kind of stuff, and they'll plant it and they'll till it and they'll work with it and they'll weed it, and then there'll come a day when, oh my gosh, the harvest just looks so good. I mean, the beans are ready or the corn is ready, and guys, when that stuff is ready, you only have like a day or two of a window of opportunity, especially with something like corn. Corn, I think it's like 2 days. You got a 2-day window of opportunity when it's at its peak. If you let it go beyond that, the sugars turn to starches in it, you know, and if you get it before that, then it's not really sweet. Same thing with your English peas. If you leave them 2 days too long, then the sugar in them is going to turn to starch. And I mean, it's the same thing with potatoes or onions or anything like that. You leave them beyond their point. I know here where it's humid at, now it may not be quite so bad up where there's no humidity yet, but down here where we've got to keep about 80 to 100% humidity most of the time, our Irish potatoes we've been digging, you know, almost, I'd say 8 out of every 10 big ones that we dig, the middle's done rotted in it. And the outside looks perfect, but the middle's rotten. You know, just simply because the soil just gets so hot. They like they're cooking them underground, I guess. And the same thing with our onions, you know, the tops, as soon as that top breaks and falls on that onion, we got to get it. Because if we don't, we left some up there for a couple of days, we didn't get, went back, and the bottoms of them already rotting. So, I mean, that's what I'm talking about, guys. When that day comes for your produce, and a lot of people will say, well, I just didn't have time. You know, my third uncle from my aunt's side that had 2 sisters down had a cousin that was getting married, and then they wanted us to come to the wedding, and you know, so we couldn't harvest. So let me tell you something. It's foolish to do all that work and then not harvest it. And I know people who plant gardens, and they have nice looking gardens, and then they still go to the store and buy everything, and they just let their food just go to waste and sit out there on the vine. They don't even eat it. I mean, what's the use, guys? When that day comes, everybody goes, but I have to work. Well, if work is that important and you can't take the afternoons and get your food harvested in, then you don't need to really be planting it, because it's just a waste. Save yourself a lot of heartache if you're just not going to harvest it. If other things are more important to you than your food source, then don't even do it. I mean, that's my opinion on that. Now here at Deep South Homestead, our gardens are our only way we eat. We do not buy food from a grocery store, especially vegetables. Now we may have to buy a little meat because we're not quite there 100% yet. We usually go to a slaughterhouse to get it, but we do have to occasionally pick up a little ground beef or something in a grocery store, but we're very picky about that even then. But as far as anything to eat, we don't buy any boxed stuff or anything like that. No pre-mixed stuff or anything. We do all that here at the house because our food's important to us. Now, are we the most healthy people in the world? No. Because we made bad decisions early on in our life, and because of it, we suffer the consequences. Older age, we got physical issues because we didn't take care of ourselves. You know, we ate the big box store junk. all the GMOs and stuff like that. We consumed all that for years and years and years, and guys, it just it does DNA damage in your body, and you got problems from it. So when that day comes now, you'll find out from me. If you're here at my house and that day comes and we got to harvest something, you just as well come harvest with me, or just sit here at the house while I go to work. If somebody's getting married, and I'll give you for instance, when we went to the Great Appalachian Conference last year, Wanda and I got up that morning and realized our green beans needed picking and our English peas. We looked at our Irish potatoes, and we had 3 days on our Irish potatoes before they really needed harvesting. We figured they'd make it 3 days. We jumped up that morning, went to our garden, we picked all of our green beans, picked all of our English peas. We came back to the house, we snapped them, shelled them, canned them, and then left to go to the conference, because I told her, I says, I will not lose this food over a conference, because if I couldn't have got it in, I wouldn't have went. It's just that simple. And the day I came back from the conference, that afternoon, we got back at like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I got out of the vehicle, unloaded our stuff out of it, went straight to the hill here behind the house and started digging my potatoes. Because that's my food source, and I'm not going to lose it. Even though I was wore slam out and I was hurting like crazy from the trip, I went back there and said, I will not lose my food source. When that day comes, you've got to be willing to suck it up and just do what you've got to do. And this is something that I find to be a big issue with homesteaders. They're like, well, we had a ball game to go to, or we had dance, or we had this, or we had that. Guys, let's just be honest with ourselves. Now, this today porch time may be a little bit harsh, but there is a reality check that must happen. If we're going to survive the coming things in this world, you've got to learn what is really important. Your food source is very important. Being able to have it is important. Taking care of your animals, knowing when to butcher an animal, and being able to do it yourself, because if SHTF happens, you're not taking an animal to a slaughterhouse. You're not going to a grocery store and buying anything. You better have the intestinal fortitude to be able to take that life and to be able to know how to cut it up to where it looks presentable anyway, because I've seen lots of people. I've had people come here and buy chickens from me, especially roosters. I had some people come buy a whole pile of roosters from me. They were gone about 2 or 3 hours, and they called me. And they said, Mr. Danny, is there any way possible that you could possibly butcher these animals for us? And I said, well, what's the problem? Well, we tried one of them, and we've just made a mess out of it. And I said, just tell us how much it's going to cost. And I gave them a price. I really didn't want to do it because I was tied up, but I gave them a price. They said they would do it. They brought them to me. I think it was 11 or 12 of them. Within an hour, I had it all done. And I called them back and told them, I said, you can come pick your animals up. And they were just blown away. How could that possibly be? How could you have possibly done this in just a little over an hour? Well, it is what it is. It's how you do it. And so this is the thing I'm talking about, guys. You've got to be able, if you're going to have animals and they're going to be meat for you, you got to get beyond this thing of just, ooh, I can't do this, because that's what they're for. And it's not a happy day. Let me say that. It's a very Deep South Homestead. It's a very solemn day when that day comes, because it's not a joyous time, but it's also a realization that we have put a lot of money and a lot of effort into these animals, a lot of money and a lot of effort into vegetables and stuff like that. And when that day comes, it's an important day for us, but it's also a solemn day, and we don't make light of it, because we've given our animals, we've given them the best life possible. And now it's time for them to reward us for what they've done for us, or what we've done for them, should I say. And same thing with the vegetables. We try our best to take the best quality care of them. We give them water as frequently. We give them the attention they need, the weeding they need. And when that day comes for them, even in the plant life world, we harvest, and we try to keep the food as fresh tasting as possible. We try to can it as fast as possible to be able to figure out the best way to store the food. I mean, I'm sitting here looking behind the camera here. I have a table behind me here that's laid out with probably 100 onions on it. Just letting the tops dry on it where we can save the bulbs. Now, here in the Deep South, those bulbs, we can't put them in a sack and keep them because they'll rot. The humidity is just too high. What we'll probably end up doing is we'll probably, once they've dried good and the tops are completely dead on them, we will keep some because they'll probably keep for about a week before they go bad. And we'll probably keep some in the house under the air conditioning where the humidity's pulled down, and we'll put some in the refrigerator. You know, ones in the refrigerator may go 2 weeks before they go bad and start molding, but the majority of them, you know, we'll probably pull anywhere around, I don't know, probably close to 200 plus onions and bulbs, and we'll chop them all up. And while we have the freezer right now, we'll put them in the freezer, you know, and we'll freeze them, and we'll take them out and use them as needed in soups and different things like that, because that's the way we keep our onions all year. Now, we do have multiplying onions that we keep year round here, and we harvest from them daily for the green onions. But the bulb onions, you know, we do have to harvest them, and we do have to put them in the freezer, chop them up, because they won't last otherwise because of the humidity. But guys, you know, that's one of the things I'm trying to relay as much as possible, is that so many people who are homesteaders out there do not stop to think about when they go to purchase an animal or plant in their garden, is when that day comes. There is always an end goal in mind, and that day will come when a decision has to be made. And so many times and I can't say anything. Look, I'm guilty, and I'm probably one of the worst because I have so much going on all the time that some things slip through my fingers. Now, I'll give you, for instance, here, I think it's been 2 years ago, I had a whole field of Danny corn planted back here behind the house, and I went down and checked it, and I told Miss Wanda, I said, you know, this corn is about ready to be harvested for dry corn. And I said, there's a couple of places in it that it still hadn't quite dried, but with the heat we're having, I told her, I said, by this weekend, I think we'll be able to harvest this whole field. And that was on like a Tuesday, and Friday afternoon come along, and I told her, I said, I'm going to go check that corn and make sure tomorrow morning, Saturday morning, we can just jump in this thing, we can just harvest this field of corn. Well, I went down Friday afternoon, and when I did, I come to the realization there wasn't an ear of corn left in that field nowhere. A whole, if you want to use the word passel, we use the word passel, a whole passel of coons and possums and stuff had gotten into my field that week and found that dried corn, and they had cleaned every ear in that field up. It made me so mad. I just come to the house. I didn't even tell Wanda. I just come to the house, got on my tractor, and went and got the bush hog, and we started bush hogging the field down. And she come out there and wanted to know what in the world I was doing. Finally, I told her. I said, look, the coons and the possums just ate it all. And I'm aggravated. I'm mad because I dropped the ball. When that day came, I should have went ahead and harvested what was ready that day and waited on the other for the weekend. But no, I put it off. And because of it, I lost a whole year's worth of growing, the fertilization, my time, my effort, and our storage for grain for the winter, not only for our seed for next year, but for our chicken feed, our corn, and stuff like that to feed our animals. I lost it all, which meant that for the next whole year, I had to step up to the plate and I had to buy corn that I normally wouldn't have had to buy. And so that's what I'm talking about, guys. There's just so many times we drop the ball as homesteaders. And the only reason we do it, I'll be honest with you, is because right now, we still got money and we still got grocery stores. We're hooked on the grocery store. We are so used to living in a society where we just jump in a vehicle and we run to town, we go to a grocery store, we get what we want to eat, and we come back home. We're not like our forefathers or people in other countries around the world that don't have that luxury. We're spoiled rotten is what the bottom line is. We've become a lackadaisical society over here, where we don't see the need, so to speak, of being responsible for our own food source, because the grocery store is there and we can go get our food, or the quick convenience stores or the fast food places are there. We can run out and grab a bite to eat and stuff like that. So it really hasn't hit home to a lot of us yet, until you end up where I'm at and you can't eat a lot of things anymore because you've eaten that bad stuff for so long, it's destroyed your insides, and now your insides are rebelling against you, and you've got a lot of issues, and you only can keep down certain things, and it's got to be things that you raise at your own home in order to be able to just eat. That's the reason Wanda and I, we can't go anywhere and eat, because I can't eat things at other places. People go, oh, well, but I'll fix you this or I'll fix you that, If you put any seasonings of the wrong kind in there, I'm destroyed. Because my system now has gotten that bad. I can't have anything gluten. I can't have, there's lots of non-gluten items I cannot eat. I mean, I'm down to the point now where I can only eat one kind of store-bought cheese that I can find, and that's sharp cheddar cheese. Now I noticed someone made a comment the other day, and I'm going to check this one out. They said that Cabot cheese made a one that was very lactose tolerant, and I'm going to try that one and see what it is. Now I can eat some goat cheese. I'm talking about homemade stuff. Now I can eat the goat cheese homemade. It's just that store-bought stuff I'm talking about, I can't do that. I mean, it's like at our own gathering, I walked around and looked at all the food at our gathering. I couldn't eat one thing there other than the burger that Wanda brought me, because I can't eat like cumin. I can't have cumin on anything, guys, because it destroys my insides. I mean, it's just that simple. That's how quickly our lives can change. I used to be able to eat anything. I mean, I could eat raw meat. I could have done anything. Literally, it did not affect me one bit in the world. I was the ultimate outdoorsman. I would eat anything, literally. And then all of a sudden, that one day came, and my body began to change, and now I'm in trouble. I can't eat out anymore. If I go to a restaurant, somebody says, we go to the restaurant, we can just order something to eat. You can just eat a hamburger patty. Well, I did that here a while back, and I ordered a hamburger steak. I told them I did not want anything on it. Well, when I got it and I began to eat it, I realized they had some kind of house seasoning that was in the meat or whatever, and I ended up deathly ill the next day. So now we just don't do it, just for that simple reason. And when that day comes for you, you'll understand the importance of home-raised food and the importance of not letting it deteriorate on the vine, or the importance of having your own animals to be able to raise and to butcher yourself, or to take them to a slaughterhouse where you trust them at and they do quality work, and it's your animal that you raised, and you know what feed you put in it, and you know what you did to that animal, and it had the best life possible. So this is what I'm talking about, guys. It's a reality check. When that day comes for you as a homesteader, realize that when you start a homestead, there's always an end goal in mind when you're dealing with animals and when you're dealing with plants. Thank you from Deep South Homestead.